You have lots of videos available to you on the web about how to load the Holga, where the light leaks most frequently occur. So this particular video is really just to show you what you're going to get when I hand you your Holga and what those various parts do, how to make use of them. So you'll get your Holga certainly with a little piece of black tape, for the purpose of taping off that back window when you're not using it to look specifically for your exposure point on the film. It's all very well and good that this is red, but hopefully you recall from beginning photography that our film is not ortho film. Our film is panchromatic, which means that even this red filter material, it's letting red light through. The same reason you can't develop your film back in the darkroom with the safe lights on, no. Keep that thing covered when you're not using it. It does a good job of knocking down the volume of light that's entering the back of your camera. As you know from an earlier video, the paper there is pretty light proof, but if you really just didn't have this on there at all and you spent a lot of time maybe with your camera just sitting down in the sun, it is certainly quite possible that you would have nice little number images burned through into your film. I've myself actually had that happen. So keep your film in subdued light. You don't have to freak out about it, but just don't leave it sitting out in the sun. Put it down in your camera bag when you're not shooting with it, and when you're done shooting with it, put it back in there, and keep this little piece of black tape on there. That said, black drafting tape, which I don't have here with me, works really nicely. Cheapest is certainly electrical tape. The only downside is when it gets warm, it gets really sticky and can leave behind some residue. But it does stick really well, and like I said, it's cheap and readily available. And then black gaffer's tape is really, really nice because it's almost indefinitely re-stickable, and it's this sort of fabric-y tape, so I really like it for taping things that I'm going to be retaping regularly, like the seams around the camera. If you're not totally sure when maybe you just bought your own Holga camera and you don't really know if it leaks light or not, but right now you're not really sure you want light leaks at all, making yourself a little tab of gaffer's tape that, once you've loaded it, you can just put that right over, and you could have a long strip down there, a strip across there, and you'd be all ready to go. Again, not too much on that because that's stuff that you can find in other videos online really easily. So more about what you're going to get checked out to you, or that's available to check out. Your Holga is going to come with the mask in place for the square. Hopefully, if you want one, I can certainly make available to you the 16 frames per roll mask. If you look up close at these, you can see numbers up top, a 12 for the bigger one and a 16 for the smaller one. They may or may not show in this video, but this is where to look for them. And then obviously when you look at them side by side, you can see that one makes a bigger opening. Some people will even shoot with no mask so that they get this really kind of raw look. The only downside is that this is just got bumps on it from the factory, and it's extremely likely to scratch your film, which maybe you've got a philosophy in your photos that accommodates scratchy film. Maybe not. You could try putting some sort of tape there that would provide a smoother surface. You're welcome to sort of sand it a little tiny bit smoother using an emery board or fine sandpaper. That's up to you. But remember, if you do pull that mask out and shoot with it entirely out, there are going to be some holes up here in the camera that you're going to need to put 2 little tiny pieces of tape over. I've shot with the mask pulled out a lot, and I got sick of the scratches myself. So I'm going to say I don't necessarily recommend that terribly highly. I think the mask is a good idea. So that's pretty much it about the masks. More fun stuff is that this is kind of in order of essentialness. This little gadget doesn't look super fancy, but this is a gold mine, man. Keep in mind, please, that the factory closed and these are no longer made. I look for them ever so often online to see if someone's 3D printing them, to see if someone's selling them. Haven't found any. What this does is it pops right on there, and now you can use the switch on the bottom of your camera. You can set it to bulb, and you can still put on your tripod mount because there's a little hole for that there. And now I will send you each with a cable release, because now you can make long exposures with your Holga camera, right? So it's really simple. Like I said, it's just a brace plastic thing with a threaded, I believe the technical term is chut to adapt here to your cable. And so you can see all it's doing is it's pushing down that button. But that enables you so much more flexibility. Otherwise, you're really sort of stuck with how long, like, A, how solid is your tripod, and B, how long are you willing to sit there and hold it, hopefully, you know, without a pulse, to shake the camera before letting it back up again. It's just really, really nice to have. So please, for the love of God, do not lose these things. Do not break these things. Return them. I care more about them than I do about the camera in terms of what you've checked out. The other things are really just fun. We have some of these Holga fisheye lenses available for you to check out. This is just a little press-on lens, and the way you use it is super straightforward. You do have a focus setting on your camera lens. Remember that when you go to use that. This wide-angle lens and the fisheye lens, they make 2 types, are made for you with the intention that you're going to lock it in on infinity focus, which is the mountains. So that's an important thing to remember if you use those. The other thing that's important, because this is just sort of a friction fit thing, it can feel like, oh, well, I'll just put it on there so I can see. Don't do that, because now it's too far out. Push that down until it literally bottoms out on the face, you know, the flat surface of the Holga's body. Now you're ready to shoot with that super wide Holga fisheye. This is not going to give you corner to corner fisheye images. It's going to actually create a circular image on your negative. So kind of keep that in mind. Something that I do when I'm shooting with this is I sort of cheat a little bit or adapt a little bit. Remember that what you see through the viewfinder is not going to be the same as if you stick weird things on the front of your lens, right? So what I do is when I'm trying to assess a scene, maybe I'm trying to shoot this scene with this guy, and I'm trying to decide where to stand, because, you know, I mean, you'd think like, no. What I do is I just frankly put this thing, let's see if you can see me, up to my eye, and I look at the scene, and I go, oh, yeah, wow, I want to be here. Okay. It's close. You know, it's not super precise, but it gives you an idea of how close to be. So I sort of use it like a little mini viewfinder. And then I can do the rest of my composing looking through the actual viewfinder window in terms of kind of estimating where, you know, what's going to be in the center and what's not. So that's kind of a cool little trick that I think I invented myself, but I bet there's a lot of other people who think they invented it themselves. The wide lens, I honestly don't know how many we have of these, but you can see there's a little difference between these. The fisheye is a more dramatic, sort of globe-shaped effect. The wide is just what it sounds like, a little wider angle, less of a circle formed by it. And then the other sort of specialty thing I got are these goofy Holga self-portrait lens. And you can see it's what kind of appears to be clear plastic, but it's not. And then a little mirror so you can compose your selfie. So what you do is you stick this on here. And there we go. Believe it or not, it does. The reason I got it is simply that it allows you to get a little closer to your subject than you normally could. The Holga's normal limit as far as distance to subject is about 3 feet. And something, a little trick I recommend you do is set your camera strap to be 3 feet long, because then when you're trying to decide, you know, like, oh, how close can I really get, you can stretch this out. And so like here you would see that I would really need to have my camera pretty far back, actually, in order for things to be in focus normally. But the Holga selfie lens is made to accommodate arm's length, and so that sort of buys you a little bit closer distance to your subject. But it just gets you that little bit closer. You may find that useful. So that pretty much covers it as far as the gear in your box. You're also going to have the manual and things like that, but I think as far as these little gadgets and gadgets, it helps to have that explanation. There you go.